meetings scheduled for this week are the Complete Streets Advisory Committee will meet on Tuesday, June 2nd at 1 p.m. in the committee room. The Planning Commission will meet on Tuesday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. here in the chambers. The Rec Authority will meet on Wednesday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Cathedral Barn at Historic Barnes Park. The Coast Guard City Committee will meet Thursday, June 4th at noon at the Air Station, Traverse City. The Parks and Rec Commission will meet on Thursday, June 4th at 6:30 here in the chambers. And then I'd just like to remind commissioners and staff and members of the public to speak into the microphone so those watching at home and the recording of this meeting is easily heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, we do have a proclamation here, but unlike usual, there's no one here to do it, so I won't go up to the podium. I'll just do it from here. This is the city proclamation of the month of June 2026 as Monarch Butterfly Month. I want to also thank Commissioner Heather Shaw for being a champion of this as well, so thank you for that. So with that, I will read, whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the American imagination of millions of Americans, young and old. And whereas the monarch is also extremely beneficial, pollinating many cultivated flowers and crops, and serves as an indicator species for the ecological health of large geographic areas. And whereas scientists estimate the monarch population to have declined by about 80% over the last 20 years. And whereas cities, towns, and counties have a critical role to play to help save the monarch butterfly, and the city of Traverse City has declared an interest in becoming a monarch city to be designated by Monarch City USA, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping the monarch butterfly to recover city by city. And whereas every citizen of Traverse City can make a difference for the monarch by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide habitat for the monarch and the pollinators in locations where people live, work, learn, play, and worship. And whereas reduce of no, they put this one in, neonicotinoid pesticides and what was that? Please.
Neonicotinoid.
There we go. That's why we got Mitch on here. Pesticides. And whereas on behalf of the people of Traverse City who have already created healthy habitats for those magnificent butterflies, it is my hope that other cities across our great nation will also help ensure that the monarch butterfly will once again flourish across the continent. Whereas that all citizens are encouraged to plant and protect native milkweed and nectar sources so that the monarch butterflies have the resources necessary to produce successive generations and sustain their spectacular migration through Traverse City. Resolved that I, Amy Shamrow, Mayor of the City of Traverse City, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2026 as Monarch Butterfly Month here in Traverse City, Michigan. So thank you all for that. If you haven't already, get to planting. I know it was a late season, so there's still time. So with that, I will hand it back over to Sarah to go through the consent calendar, please.
Thank you. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for individual consideration by the commission, and such requests will be automatically respected. If an item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in the parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. 1. Consideration of approving the minutes of the May 18th, 2026 meeting of the City Commission. Approval recommended. 2. Consideration of authorizing the addition of a participation permit with Francophiles LLC to Alliance Restaurant LLC to operate at 144 Hall Street, Suite 107, and authorizing the city clerk to issue the updated registration. Adoption and approval recommended. 3. Consideration of adopting to make permanent a traffic control order to restrict parking within 15 feet of the East State Street intersection at South Cass. Approval recommended. 4. Consideration of adopting to make permanent a traffic control order that provides for signage for the existing provision that parking fines on Bay Street during the National Cherry Festival increase during such period, which is a housekeeping matter. Approval recommended. 5. Consideration of adopting to make permanent a traffic control order to designate a loading zone on the west side of North Union. Approval recommended. 6. Consideration of authorizing an amendment to the parking management software contract and consideration of authorizing a purchase order for credit card reader replacements. Approval recommended. 7. Consideration of authorizing an amendment to the agreement for uniform rental and laundry services for the Department of Public Service, Department of Municipal Utilities, and Parking Services. Approval recommended. 8. Consideration of authorizing a 3-year contract for the Cross Connection Control Program. Approval recommended. 9. Consideration of authorizing an agreement for preliminary design and consideration of authorizing an agreement for geotechnical engineering for the Brownfield Water Main and Street Reconstruction Project. Approval recommended. 10. Consideration of authorizing a 4-year agreement for surveying and engineering services to and to authorize the city manager to extend the agreement yearly if pricing remains the same. Approval recommended. 11, consideration of authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for collaboration with the Grand Traverse County Drain Commissioner in connection with the municipal separate storm sewer system MS4 permit. Approval recommended. 12, consideration of authorizing the sale of a 2017 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle to Northwestern Michigan College Police Academy. Approval recommended. 13, consideration of declaring unclaimed property held by the police department as surplus so that it may be auctioned for sale. Approval recommended. Consideration of approving adjustments to fees for various licenses and city services as recommended by the city clerk, and consideration of updating the directory of charges. And I sent you a new image of the parking because somehow I attached the wrong one. Where was I? 15, consideration of approving the fireworks display permits for the National Cherry Festival on July 4th and July 11th, 2026. Approval recommended. 16, consideration of scheduling a public hearing regarding the budget amendments for fiscal year 2025-2026 for June 15th, 2026. Approval recommended.
Would any commissioner like an item pulled from the consent calendar? Ken and then Jackie.
3, 4, 8, and 9.
Jackie?
I have a question on number 11 and a comment on number 14.
You can make your comment and then ask your question if it's quick.
Okay, thank you.
Or you can go ahead and do that right. Should I wait? Yeah, I was going to say go ahead and do it right now before public open. Yep.
Fine. Number 14.
Yes.
Number 14 has to do with our fee structures. And first, I wanted to thank staff because clearly a lot of thought and a lot of hard work went into developing the proposal for fees going forward. My comment is, I noted that in a few of those there were extra accommodations or extra discounts offered for city residents. And as I read through the categories of fees, it seemed like there might be opportunities to extend that policy further in the future. So I want to support the fees that are recommended currently, but I would like to assess interest among my fellow commissioners on whether next time around we would like to consider looking for opportunities to acknowledge the resident status and look for opportunities for further discounts for residents.
I think we can note that you've, and I agree with you, pointed out that that's a nice change, and have staff, when they bring it for us, maybe ask that when they bring fee changes to us, either why or why not there isn't a citizen one. We trust them to do the numbers and have the kind of backing there for that, but you know, we can ask that be part of our reports now when fee structure changes come.
I actually was thinking of something more substantive in terms of a policy statement.
Well, I think we can add that then to an agenda to be discussed.
Thank you.
Yep. Did you want something pulled, Mitch?
Yes, number 15.
Okay. Okay, anything else other than 3, 4, 8, 9, and 15? And sorry, and you have your 11.
I have my 11.
Yeah, just 1 second. Okay, go right ahead then. Go ahead with 11.
Okay. 11 is the topic on public education about the MS4 stormwater management, water quality initiatives, and it's about how are we going to approach public education on that topic. I wasn't quite clear on what the relationship was proposed to be between the city and the drain commissioner in terms of getting this work done. And so I asked a preliminary question. I'm still a bit foggy on the subject, so I bet Leslie.
No, I think that we should pull this then if we're getting into substantial. Like a quick question is like am I correct on this, yes or no? It's okay that we pull it, but I don't want it to be just wedged
Fine.
in. So we'll
Let's
pull
pull
that
it.
one. So we'll pull 11 on that as well. Sorry, Leslie, but we'll wait in order, or sorry, Ann, sorry, that we'll wait in order on that. So, all right, anything else that we'd like pulled? All right, anything from the public other than 3, 4, 8, 9, 15, or 11? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
Thank you, Ken.
Support.
Thank you, Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, then we'll start with number 3, please. And Ken, you had this pulled?
Yep. I'll go into it here. This traffic control order is necessary because this intersection was not designed to accommodate two-way State Street traffic. I do not support the permanence of this traffic control order until a final decision is made regarding the direction of traffic on State Street. This is yet another small step in traffic control orders to solidify the permanence of traffic flow on State Street without a commission's final decision. You may recall the decision for the traffic control order at Front Street and Pine Street, which I also did not support for this very same reason. State Street does not have a current traffic control order supporting the flow of traffic, so I ask again, what is the point of traffic control orders if they just stay in place once they expire?
Well, I will say that traffic control orders can always be rescinded by the city commission. And so what I would suggest is that we operate through the lens of nothing changes till it changes. And so the recommendation is to approve this traffic control order. If something changes with respect to State Street's flow, this traffic control order could always be rescinded.
I understand that.
Do we have any other questions or a motion? Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, to that point, the language clearly states be permanently adopted. It doesn't state dependent on other conditions that are subject to change, in this case, the traffic flow pattern on State Street. Which that is still something that we haven't voted on making permanent or not. It will come back to us eventually, and we will make a resolution. We will resolve whether it stays two-way or reverts back to one-way, but I am not comfortable with the language here that says it's permanently
Well,
adopted if it is.
I will
based on-
say that that's simply because, and the city attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, once I only have a limited amount of time to approve traffic control orders, only for a limited duration, and the city commission's basically purview next is to make it permanent, but it's not really permanent in the sense that you can always rescind a traffic control order. Am I correct, Lauren?
That's absolutely correct, and I'll also add that the point of a traffic control order is that the motor vehicle code, or is it the MMUTCD, requires that traffic devices must be supported by a traffic control order. So the point of having it is that if somebody gets a ticket for not following that traffic device, then it could be undermined if there's no traffic control order that is underlying that traffic device being there. So it's important that while those devices are there, there is a corresponding traffic control order. And then if something changes about State Street and the configuration, then there would be all new traffic control orders that would go along with those, so that those devices, however they're configured at that time, are supported. So it is important for there to be a traffic control order, and the city manager can only put one into place for 90 days. After that, it's up to the commission to do that.
And so you're saying that if the configuration or the traffic flow on State Street changes by statute, we would have to change the traffic control orders anyways?
That's basically what I'm saying, yes.
Yes.
You'd need to have a traffic control order
Or
for
we'd be
every
out of
device.
compliance again?
That's my point to State Street right now. We do not have a standing traffic control order that supports two-way traffic flow.
Right, and that's the problem, is that is a problem. So what we're suggesting is that be corrected.
I'll get into that a little bit more in consent calendar item number 9. So
Okay, well, I would go back to, do we have questions? We've had some, you pulled it, Ken, and we've had some comments. Do we have questions, or do we have a motion? Thank you.
And just for clarity, I believe this sign is on Cass, not State Street. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
yeah, I figured, I saw where it was going to go.
Okay.
And I'm understand. I'm not.
Laura
mad
was
at
just
anybody.
recognized, just to give it
Yes,
a
please.
second, please.
I was going to make the motion.
Please do.
I move to adopt to make permanent a traffic control order to restrict parking within 15 feet of, was there a correction to the location?
No, there's,
Okay.
but the motion that you want to read is on the first page of
Oh,
the
good.
cover memo, and
Okay. Let me get
Traffic
there.
Control
Somebody
Order
else is ready.
756, which provides restricted parking signage at South Cass and East State Street on the northwest corner, be permanently adopted. Was that the motion you were making?
Yes.
Okay, thank you,
And
Laura.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Heather. Okay, now we can have discussion. Go ahead, Lance.
I think in future when we're looking at, what do they call this? Daylighting, essentially, for safety reasons, just reviewing NACTO, recommendation is 20 feet, and that we use some sort of actual barrier, not just a sign. So bike parking or, I don't know, flower pots, something like that. So I would just, I'm going to support this, but I would just push for a little bit of a stronger standard in future uses when we're using this for safety.
That's an excellent point. Other comments right now? Okay. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Oh,
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bomer?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Treadwell?
no,
Mayor Pro Tem Ness?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Funk?
No.
Mayor?
Yes. And that passes. All right, sorry, I did the count in my head real quick. Okay, and then Commissioner Funk, you pulled number 4.
Yep, and maybe this could have fallen under the questions that Commissioner Anderson brought up. If I read that memo correctly, this, underneath every Traverse city limit signs, it's going to say parking fines doubled during National Cherry Festival.
No, that's not correct, but Ms. Van Ness can clarify that for you.
That is what I read.
Hi, Nicole Van Ness, Parking Director. So with this particular traffic control order, this was a cleanup item. So the signs were enacted as a temporary TCO, and then City Commission took action to actually incorporate this language into the ordinances. And so this is only an increased fine on Bay Street. It's my understanding that, I believe it was 2011, when this was enacted, there were a lot of campers and overnight parking. So this was to detour camping on Bay Street for the air show and for fireworks and others. So I'm sure you guys have seen campers there, so they cannot park until 6 a.m.
Okay. It just says to provide signage for no overnight parking from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. that identifies fine increases during the National Cherry Festival at all city limit entry points. That's the city limit sign.
And
And
that's
that's-
not, I don't know where that came from, actually,
don't
because that's
know
not
either,
correct, right,
'cause-
Nicole?
I'm
No, it's
going
in
to
the-
quickly review my memo because I don't remember that.
You're right that
being-
it says that in the memo, but it's an error.
And it doesn't say it in the code, so to your
I
point, we
just,
wouldn't be
okay,
voting for
and
that.
I just wanted to very
Yes.
publicly verify the fact that this isn't going to say Traverse City limits,
Yes.
parking fines doubled, because it doesn't feel very welcoming.
No,
Right.
that's a very
Yeah,
good point,
yeah,
Ken.
yeah.
That's a very, very
That
good
is-
point.
yeah.
Yeah, so there are city limit signs at all entry points that just say the 3 to 6.
Okay.
But the signage on Bay Street is the only signage that will indicate increased fines only for Bay Street and only during the Cherry Festival. And those signs have existed since 2011. They just don't have a TCO.
Okay,
No, I appreciate that, Ken. So yeah, just based on the way the motion is written, that the traffic control order doesn't say that they're on every entry sign. So even though that was kind of a fuzzy part of the executive summary, that's not what's in the actual ordinance. So the motion would not need to be changed.
I just wanted it heard loud and proud for all.
No, I appreciate it. It was a good catch. Go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, I move that the traffic control order 761, which provides no overnight parking signage on the city limits entry
That's the
point.
name of the traffic control order that's being amended.
Yeah,
Right.
be permanently adopted.
Thank you.
Second.
Lance and Laura. Any further discussion on this item?
Well, we are into the summer tourist season, and it is important that people are aware of increased traffic, and that does include campers and large vehicles.
Thank you. Good point. Any other comment right now? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now item number 8, which, let me get my computer screen caught up here, is the consideration of authorizing the 3-year contract for cross control. And did you have this one pulled as well,
Yeah,
Ken?
yeah,
Please go
I
ahead.
did.
Yep.
This private contractor that's going to be doing these inspections, it lists 400 residential inspections. Will this private contractor be going into residential homes?
Mr. Krieger, our Director of Municipal Utilities, will answer that question for you.
Hi.
Thanks, Art.
Art Krieger, Director of Utilities. The answer to that is yes.
How do we select who gets picked? Is it neighborhoods? Is it?
It's really a matter of access. If they can get in, they're gonna try to do it. We have them with badges or identifications. They're representing the city as a contractor. And if they go door to door sometimes, they send out letters to neighborhoods ahead of time, and then when they're in town, they go door to door and try to knock out as many as they can, with a goal of 400 per year.
Have we vetted these companies, this company, as far as like background checks
Oh,
to
yeah, we wouldn't
verify?
bring something like this forward
Just
without
gotta
doing
ask
that.
it, yeah.
I mean, that's standard
Yes.
procedure.
I would assume that, but I need a lot of assurance with our residents' best interest, especially if they're not just going into businesses, they're going into homes.
Correct.
So, okay.
I can even say the one that came into my home almost got trapped in the crawl space, so he maybe should have checked my background.
It's funny that, it's not funny, it's opportunistic that this got brought up, because when we switched to the electronic meter reading devices, the subcontractor that put those in didn't necessarily verify the correct flow direction. So city employees had to go back and verify that they were put in the right way. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I remember it because they had to schedule an appointment to come to my house and make sure that it was put in to flow in the right direction, because some of them were running backwards. So.
Well, we do both humans in the end, so. But
yeah.
I will ask, are there further questions or a motion for this?
I can make the motion.
Thank you.
That the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute a 3-year contract extension with CCRA Professional Services in an amount not to exceed $59,904 annually for performing cross-connections control services, such contract subject as to its substance by the city manager and its form by the city attorney, with funds therefore available in the Water Fund 591.
Support.
Thank you very much. And just to clarify one thing I was going to say really quickly, and to your point, Ken, for wanting to reassure the public, no one working for this or any of our services has the right to demand to be allowed entry
Yeah.
too. So people
Yep.
can always refuse entry. I just
Yep.
wanted to underline that too. So any other discussion on this item? Mitch and then Heather?
Just a minor point that we do publish our agenda and pack it in a couple different places. In some of those, page 2 of this memo was missing.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you for
Oh,
that.
Mine
that's-
was.
Oh,
Weird.
well, thank you for
Yeah.
that. Heather?
I just wanted to say that I was renting a house on 13th Street a couple of years ago, and the gentleman came to perform the service. And it was a very small house with tiny little everything in there, and they were large people, and they were very nice about it and very good-humored, so.
Hence the
Great.
being trapped in my crawl space. I had a little
Exactly.
something to do with it.
Apparently you just don't want to come to a commissioner's house if you're doing this work. Any other comments from commissioners? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, and now my screen just decided to go dead. So next we have item number 15 then. and I'm
9 was next.
Oh, sorry, 9. I wrote it very tiny and it ran together. Was that
That was Ken.
Ken as well?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
go right ahead then, please, Ken.
So item number 9, and I want to read something real quick, and this was from the February 26th City Manager's Tidbits email to the City Commission and Employee Leadership Team. It was referencing 3 projects and a required decision, and I just fat-fingered it, I'm sorry. State Street decision, one-way or two-way. Please see the following information from City Engineer Ann Pagano regarding key items affected by the timing of the eventual decision, and please reach out to Ann or I with any questions. Mid-State Street block crossing, in reference to that project that we had already approved. That was item number 1, and project number 1. Project number 2, item number 2 in this. Park Place Brownfield Water Main Project. The city has approximately $1 million available in brownfield funding for a water main replacement on Boardman Avenue from 8th Street to State, along State between Park and Boardman. Since the streets will be excavated for water main installation, the plan was to reconstruct those portions of the street with the water main project. They are due for reconstruction. It will be important to know the decision on State Street and the portion of Boardman between State and Front if a reconstruction of any portion of State is to take place, and the intersection of State and Boardman. Ann Jameson would like us to start spending some of these allocated funds as soon as possible. Item number 3 of this was the potential redevelopment of the State Street properties. And a decision would be helpful to the developer and want to know the configuration of the street when preparing their site plan and designing access to the site. So I brought this email up before and made other issues related to the lack of City Commission's decision regarding the State Street's final direction for traffic flow. Cost estimates were requested from city staff in regard to turning traffic back into one-way versus maintaining it as two-way by Commissioner Shaw and seconded by Commissioner Bomer in their motion at the March 2nd meeting, which I supported. No timeline was set in regard to this action, and it was suggested that maybe we could see this item back by June. It's June 1st today. And we have $1 million project that needs this information back from staff and the City Commission to make a decision. This agenda item should be delayed until a final traffic direction decision on State Street is made.
If I may, I just want to say that, and Commissioner Bomer is the chair of the Complete Streets Ad Hoc Committee. This rests with that committee at this point. I conferred with the city engineer, and whether or not State Street is one-way or two-way, that does not impact this project at all. In terms of, we can accommodate whichever direction that State Street is going, regardless of this particular endeavor proceeding. And you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, thank you. No, that's correct. I think what you're saying and what I agree is we can make this project work either way, whether it's one way or two way on State Street. We just need to know eventually. We can do a lot of the work to start out. We need to do surveying. We're going to do some public outreach. So it'll be months before we really start designing the street. So we would potentially have to put the project on hold later if a decision hasn't been made within 4 to 6-ish months. So we're just hoping the decision would be made by then. But I would really love to keep this project moving forward. This is critical infrastructure that needs to be upgraded. We have the brownfield funds, and it's been budgeted for the design to start. So really hoping to get it going.
I agree with everything she said. I agree with everything.
Lance?
Yep. And I actually pushed back a little bit on that email saying, do we really need to wait for that decision to spend the money on a water main? And so I think it's coming here. I will say the Complete Streets Advisory Committee is meeting for a second time because we couldn't get everything done in the first meeting that we had last week, or the second meeting we had last week. And that group will be ranking, looking at both one-way and two-way State Street traffic, not making any recommendations, but essentially scoring what that looks like, and that'll come back to the commission at the next meeting, maybe at the study session if we can get through it tomorrow. That's why we actually called a special meeting, just because we didn't have enough time. That committee, I will say, is not going to be making a recommendation based on operations. That is this body's job, and they're an unelected body. Their job is just to say, against the rubric, here's where both of them rank, and here's maybe suggestions on both to make them safer. So that'll be happening tomorrow. I will say that. But yeah, I don't think we need to hold something up that decision doesn't actually matter if we can get designing. Now, we saw what happened on Cass Street when we held up a mid-block crossing and how that cost almost 3x amount, if not more, just by doing that by 6 or 7 months. So I would hate for this to now cost us $3 million if we wait in the future.
Do you have a question, Mitch?
Discussion.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
That the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with AECOM,
Yep. Econ.
in the amount not to exceed $206,000, how do you
I know.
say that? $206,839.
$839.
$1,839, which includes a 15% contingency, and that's $179,860 plus $6,979. Contingency for the preliminary design of the brownfield water main and street reconstruction project. Such contract subject to its substance by the city manager and is formed by the city attorney with funds available in the water fund, wastewater fund, capital fund, street fund, and TIF 97 fund, with the water main and crosswalk portions to be reimbursed by brownfield, and further, that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute an agreement with Soils and Structures, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $30,879.73, which includes a 10% contingency, $28,072.48 plus $2,807.25 contingency for the geotechnical engineering services. Such contract subject to its substance by the city manager and is formed by the city attorney with funds available in the street fund.
Support.
Thank you for that worthy Herculean effort, Heather. Thank you. And thank you
That
for
was
the
a
second.
long one.
Yes. All right, now we can open up for discussion. Mitch?
Yeah. First and foremost, water mains like this are critical infrastructure. We have seen last month where in Oakland County, a water main failure knocked out drinking water for 200,000 people. And locally, a water main break from our own water system, but not in the part that we were responsible for, under Garfield Road, knocked out half of that road for a day and a half. Fortunately, the county was very responsive in being able to fix that, but it does point to the need to have the infrastructure, especially that which is underground, in good condition and to repair it and maintain it when we have the opportunity. This is the opportunity. Most of this project is not in the area directly affected by two-way or one-way. However, and there isn't that much of this project that is this actual street level design. However, we will have some resolution from the Safe Streets Committee and then from this committee about what is happening with either two-way or one-way within the next 4 to 6 months, so it will be able to incorporate whatever we decide into the final project. And furthermore, in keeping with Dig Once principles, most of the conversion back to one-way, if that's what we do, or further amendments to reflect a permanent two-way configuration, will be surface level and paint. It won't be entirely redoing the street. So I see the two projects as things that can work perfectly well in the existing timelines.
Ken?
I don't know how much I agree with the water main infrastructure, that is important and essential. When we start talking about the surface, we're talking about bump outs, we're talking about a mid-block crossing that's going to go in there, signage directions for both of those, underground electrical utilities that are involved in that. So we are going to have to plan this for kind of both contingencies until a direction is decided, no pun intended. So I guess my want would be to know, has any effort been put forth towards Commissioner Shaw's motion that was supported by Commissioner Bomer to find a cost estimate for one-way versus two-way?
Absolutely. That information was provided to the Complete Streets Ad Hoc Committee
Yes.
Yes.
So,
to help with their analysis.
Okay. That would have been nice for us to have that too, but I'm not upset that we didn't get it. I didn't know it
you
existed.
referred it to that committee, so I
Okay.
think we trust that committee to do their work.
Yeah.
It's in the packet for that committee's meeting.
Nice. Yeah, I don't want to hold up this project, but I think that we need to make a decision on this. How comfortable are we in letting this slide for a while? 3 months have passed since we made that recommendation to move this, to
Well,
stall on this.
The Complete Streets Committee, if you might recall, really wasn't even able to convene until April. That's just barely 2 months ago. It's a number of folks that require scheduling, and I don't really think 2 months is too much time.
we are in government, and especially stuff like this that has public committees, it's not a huddle we can do in the office on a Monday morning or when shift changes. We have to coordinate some of this. And so I'm not, Ken, you're making, your questions are absolutely valid, and your concern is absolutely valid. I think the only thing I was going to say, and this comes down to whatever we all decide, is we and staff does an amazing job to the point we're probably slightly spoiled of trying to make sure everything happens at the same time. It doesn't always. Sometimes we get grants that push a project to the fore when we aren't ready to do the underground infrastructure, or vice versa. We get money to do some pipe work or work on some lines, but we're not, the street that they're under is actually 5-6 years out from a total rebuild, so we resurface. We try not to do it, staff's very good about it, but things happen, and this was a decision that 2 commissions now have decided we wanted more information on. We had the Complete Streets ad hoc created, and that was part of the process, a new part of the process as well. So everybody has to arrive at their own conclusions for what they feel comfortable voting with, but I think that this isn't neglect or isn't on a back burner. It's been actively worked on. And I say that very clearly to the public, because sometimes we hear in government, and I don't mean just us, I mean federal down, oh, like government doesn't do anything, government doesn't do anything. It moves at a glacial pace sometimes, unfortunately, because it is a bunch of different pieces trying to come together. And so I just wanted to clarify that I don't think for a second that the ad hoc or staff have been dragging their feet on this, and I think that this is just process, and process sometimes is real slow. So, Laura?
I'm not comfortable delaying critical infrastructure as this process plays out. I think from my perspective, we're right on track where we asked to be, and that was we wanted to convene the Complete Streets Committee, which was a new committee, provide them with the information so that they can study the issue and come back with an evaluation of the implications of this, and that committee has now convened. They have the cost estimates that staff has pulled together. Sounds like from Ms. Pagano that there's more risks in delaying this than there are in moving forward. So I would recommend that we move forward with this, and I can make that motion.
I thought the
We
motion was
have it.
already made.
Oh, good.
So,
Heather put
that
that
was the
Herculean
long
effort in. Let's not dismiss that.
Oh, yes, I'm ahead of one,
So-
sorry.
But
so
yes,
I'll let it be said that I wanted this pulled because I wanted to talk about
that's
it.
fine.
And my mind wasn't made up one way or another for supporting it. I wanted this to get the attention that it deserves. I rely firsthand on the difference between a 6-inch water main and a 12-inch water main, so I understand the risk and the importance of it. The downtown water loop has been spoken about at many of a commission and mayor candidates forum. We know that it needs replaced. We know that it needs repaired. We have the money. I support doing that. I don't want us to continue to delay important decisions that we need to make. Okay.
No, it's an excellent, that's why we do this, right? That's why it's not a gimme and a rubber stamp.
I wanted it pulled for that very reason, to discuss it.
Great.
And I want staff to be able to make decisions and not have to wonder one way or two way. So
Yeah, it's a very good point, Ken.
I
Thank
feel
you.
I've said my piece on it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions right now? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, good discussion on that. All right, now item number 15. Mitch, you had this pulled?
Yes, this is not directly about this, but in terms of fireworks, the 4th of July is very common for communities to have fireworks. It is well known that we'll have not just them here, but you can view from a high hill fireworks up and down Grand Traverse Bay and through other communities. The Cherry Festival gets enough attention that anybody in Traverse City is aware of the final day of Cherry Festival, and thus that there's fireworks. However, last month, a couple weekends ago, there was a fireworks permit that we had approved through the city commission, and I was able to, through our packet, read up on the details of that. But what is there in terms of notifying the public when fireworks displays are going to be happening, since they do generate noise and disruption in a period of time that would otherwise not have them?
Thank you. I actually had intended for mention of that to be in my announcements at the onset of the meeting, but it didn't get added. So I can tell you that since that occurred, I became aware of the issue, if you will, and our communications and strategic initiatives department and clerk's office have synced up so that that kind of communication will be included in the Bay brief, other notifications as appropriate, and that sort of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion then for the topic? Thank you, Lance.
Make sure I'm on the right page. I move that the city commission authorize the city clerk and other officials to execute the necessary fireworks display permits to the Boom Boom Club and the National Cherry Festival for the display of fireworks on July 4, 2026 and July 11, 2026.
Support.
All right, thank you, Lance, and thank you, Mitch. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, any public comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Mayor Shamro, just a reminder that Commissioner Anderson had pulled
I
number
have
11.
item number 11 on the list. That's, we had it as a question, and then it was decided it would be pulled. So please go ahead with item number 11.
All set? Thank you. Number 11 involves the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Drain Commissioner regarding the public information, public education program associated with MS4. And I had asked for some clarification before our meeting when the packet came out, because I wasn't quite certain about exactly what the expectations and responsibilities of those two entities would be. And I did do a little bit of research. I found an 8-page document from Eagle that specifies what they want to see in a public education program for MS4, and it was quite extensive. There were printed brochures and social media campaigns and infographics and quantitative tracking and reporting back. So my understanding is that the city staff is going to be taking on responsibility for this public education program, and I am obviously concerned about both staffing level to conduct that properly, and also, frankly, the skills. Do we have those skills in-house, and how are they going to be deployed?
Thank you for asking those questions. So we do already have a public education plan. It's part of our stormwater management plan that was submitted to Eagle as part of the permit application in August. It's on our website, or it's actually not on our website, but it was in a link that I sent the last time we talked about this, and I can certainly resend that if you'd like to see it. So that spells out, and it's basically what you were talking about, the requirements from Eagle, and it's going to be staff time, so we aren't going to need a consultant for this, but it's stuff that we'll be doing in-house, like social media messaging, like you talked about, displays at in-person events, email newsletters, website updates, and promoting watershed cleanup events, that kind of stuff. So just information to get out there to people about, like, for example, the MS4, like the inlets drain to the bay and the river. Simple educational information like that. Also, like the benefits of green infrastructure, elimination of illicit discharges. This is all spelled out again in our stormwater management plan. So we're going to be doing this anyway. So the Drain Commissioner asked if he could collaborate with us on our permit, and that's something that Eagle allows. So this is what the agreement here is for, to collaborate with the Drain Commissioner. So we're going to be doing this anyway. I'm sure there's some way that he'll help us get the message out, whether it's on their webpage. We'll have to work out all those details once we get the permit. We don't actually have the permit yet. So once we get there, we will coordinate with the Drain Commissioner on the details.
And Ann, am I correct that the schools are also helping as
That's
part of their
correct.
nesting agreement?
Not TCAPS, Northwest Education Services,
Okay.
and also Grand Traverse County Administration, like this building here, and the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you.
I appreciate your willingness to tackle something like this. A marketing campaign of the scope and scale that I read in the Eagle description requires some very specialized skills. And are we just talking about the plan, or are we talking about the actual execution?
This is messaging out to the community on some basic stuff that Eagle can help us with, and we can put these things together. Again, it's just going to go on our website. Colleen's going to be helping us with this. We do have the skills in-house to take care of this.
Okay, I'll leave you with one thought, and that was when I clicked through to the sample public education program materials that were linked out of the Eagle document. A number of them had been created in collaboration with local watershed centers, and you know, these are advocacy organizations who are skilled in messaging and execution of communications, and they're funded philanthropically. And I really don't understand the do-it-yourself approach when there are resources readily available.
Yeah, we have had some preliminary conversations with the Watershed Center. We don't have anything formal yet, and we are going to continue those conversations once we get the permit.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions or a motion?
I move that staff recommends that the City Commission approve the intergovernmental agreement for collaboration under the Phase 2 NPDES permit between
Sir, just over
Sorry,
the
you want to
top.
go with the,
Top one.
Much
the
shorter.
motion that's on the first page of the cover memo?
Much shorter.
something.
Much
That
shorter.
the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Grand Traverse County Drain Commissioner as outlined in the city engineer's May 28th, 2026 communication. Such contract as to its substance by the city manager and its form by the city attorney.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. All right, any comments now? Go ahead, Mitch.
Yes, having read that 8-page Eagle publication back when we started this MS4 process, it is a helpful guideline for a wide range of communities across the state, many of which do not have the expertise that we have with our own engineering department and staff, or that have specific contamination issues, historical or present. We don't have active industrial sites that are continuing to discharge into our waterways. We don't have a broad history of people illegally dumping motor oil through their sump pump into our stormwater system. Those are historic realities in other parts of the state. And through the process of testing, we will determine what illicit connections exist, what contamination exists beyond what we already know. But the fact that the water in the Boardman River and our beaches routinely tests as very clean indicates that if we do have specific sources of contamination, they are limited in scope and will be able to be addressed.
Jackie?
If I may clarify, my concerns have nothing to do with the value of our stormwater management plan or the specifics of the plan itself. I am deeply concerned about expecting engineers to turn into marketers, advertisers, and communicators, to loading tasks onto their plates that they are not qualified or experienced in. So I'm concerned about the communication, which is the public education programming that is being expected as a part of our MS4 efforts. There is some highly technical reporting that's going to be required as part of this communication in terms of identifying target audiences and how often we have reached them and how we reached them. And I have concerns about loading that responsibility onto the backs of our engineering department.
And just if this helps, I share it that Colleen Pavelio will be involved and at the table, and she is, of course, our communications guru and feels comfortable assisting the engineering department with this work.
That's reassuring. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Heather?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you are talking with the Watershed Center, because this is exactly what they do. They have done it before. This is absolutely in their, they have all the materials that they've used many times. It doesn't make a lot of sense to reinvent the wheel when you can collaborate with them and lighten your load.
And just to reiterate, I do know that the engineering department is, they have begun talks with the Watershed Center. And I also had a great meeting today with Christine Chrisman from the Watershed Center. And so I just wanted to let you know that.
Great.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, any public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're now on to our old business. We'll start up now with our quarterly strategic action plan update. Go ahead.
Yes, and Colleen Pavelio, our Director of Communications and Strategic Initiatives, is going to join us up here and provide a quarterly update to the City Commission. I want to acknowledge something, too, that whenever we talk about objectives and key results in our strategic action plan, that I want to just respect and shed light on the fact that we have a number of departments that also support our strategic plan. So they may not be as visible, more operational type departments, but I just want to say that when you look at the spreadsheet of items that are the strategic initiatives are on that OKR work plan, you won't see every single department listed as a primary owner, but everyone has a role in these efforts. And I just want to thank the entire employee team for that. And with that, I won't take up any more time, and I'll leave you in Ms. Pavelio's capable hands to provide the update. Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. This is our first quarterly update after the adoption of the OKR work plan in March 2nd, 2026. We're also entering our first implementation budget cycle.
Pull your mic down.
Can you not hear me? Is it on?
There we go.
It's for the
Is it?
people at home.
Yeah, thank you. Always looking out for the public. Okay, so this is our first full implementation budget cycle, the fiscal year 2026-2027, since the plan has been adopted. And the documents included in your packet are to integrate a framework that are intended to align with our financial resources, operational planning, and organizational priorities within the community's long-term vision. Roll on my computer right now. Okay, there are a couple items that I wanted to talk about. Implementation milestones is what I'm calling them. In June 2026, we're going to have our first CIP meeting. Usually those meetings are late fall, early winter. So what we're trying to do is kind of back that process up so we can more intentionally have a CIP that aligns with the OKR work plan and the strategic action plan. We're also planning to have a joint session with the City Commission and the Planning Commission to talk about master plan and strategic action plan alignment. In August 2026, we're going to actually have our first budget meeting to talk about that process. Generally, we start that process in the beginning of the calendar year. We want to back it up more so we can be more intentional about alignment. And then also the city manager intends to convene the ad hoc committee to talk about long-term budget or long-term strategic budgeting, and that will also be with the city treasurer and the finance director. And then lastly, I'm hoping within the next week, I've been doing a lot of demos, but to have the software in place for the public-facing dashboard and reporting, that's about a 2 to 3 month build out. And my goal is that at the next quarterly report to all of you that we'll have that public-facing software in place. So that's very exciting. Hopefully I'll have an employee in place by then that will help too. But I'm really excited about that portion. So before we move on to some items that I want to discuss with all of you about policy direction, you do have, I took all of the data points from the work plan and put them into a spreadsheet. It's ambitious. It's over 600 data points, so we should be proud of our ambition. But what I did is I extracted all of the near-term items, so that's in your packet, and then there's a status kind of item for each item. If it's blank, it means that we don't have an answer quite yet for that, or it hasn't been implemented yet. Again, this was adopted March 2nd, so I think if you look at it, we're doing pretty well, but I am open to any questions on that spreadsheet, and certainly I will try to answer what I can, and if we can't answer them, then we can talk to the employee team and get back with you. Do you have any questions on the spreadsheet? 200 plus items.
Well, if I could, it is impressive and also a little overwhelming to
Yes.
see the scope of our ambitions. And I found myself thinking about how could this body help to sort out and focus on priorities. And I wondered if you thought it might be helpful for us to attempt, for instance, to create a top 10 list, of the absolutely key projects that we feel will most directly and effectively advance our strategic plan and work toward our goals and support the pillars. Would something like that help us to stay out of the weeds, keep us out of micromanaging, and keep us focused on the really big items?
Right.
And do you think that would be helpful? And to my colleagues, do you think it's achievable?
Yeah, I mean, if I may, I think we're doing pretty well in the near term because, we designed this plan and some of these items were kind of underway. I think the midterm is where we're going to see some challenges. And so perhaps that is a good idea to come back and kind of refine those a bit or have recommendations from staff. It's a living document, so some things may change that we already have in the midterm due to budgeting or, a number of items. So I like that approach, just kind of think top of mind of where we could scale some things back. We did pretty well in the near term with, I'll say, the items that required capital. I put in the memo that out of the $126 million across all budgets for the fiscal year budget, we did a calculation of $42 million of that was really related to strategic investments. Now, there's a little crossover with that. You may be doing a road, like Monroe, but then it has mobility elements to it, so it kind of got dumped into the strategic investments. So it's not really black and white, but what you'll see here is there is an incredible amount of capital that needs to come from staff, staffing capacity. And like I said, when I put it all into a database, it was over 600 data points. So realistically, it's incredibly ambitious, and I think as we move forward, it'll be more telling about what we can achieve and kind of work with the commission to refine that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Heather? Aren't we, on page 128 and 129, these areas for commission feedback and direction, aren't we looking at the sort of next steps, top 10 kind of?
Yes, so those items, I mean, if you want to move right into those items, so when we had, in your OKR work plan, based on the adopted OKRs, you have your 6 pillars, and then you have your programs and policies within there. For each one of those in the OKR work plan, we had commission direction needed. And so for us to move forward with implementation tonight, I'm hoping to put you all to task and kind of talk about some of those items so we are being very efficient with staff's time. And if you support us moving forward on a couple of those items or looking into some of those items, I will say. And if there aren't any more questions about like the actual spreadsheet, we can talk about that, but I'm happy to answer questions about the actual spreadsheet if you have those.
Do you have more spreadsheet questions or the general? Go ahead, Ken.
I'm looking at page 19 of 22. What page
Okay.
were you referring to, Commissioner Shaw?
I am not working from the same
Yeah, she's right
spreadsheet
here.
that you are.
She's not on the spreadsheet. I think she's on
That's the agenda.
the areas for commission.
Some of
feedback
you may be on the full packet, and Commissioner Funk is on that actual PDF agenda item. So page 19.
Yeah, but
Yep.
I mean, I was just, where was Commissioner Shaw? Where were you referring to?
Right at, I'm sorry, under policy direction and future consideration. So it's
Page
right
4
up at the,
of yours, Ken.
at the top.
Yeah, okay.
It's in the
Yes,
narrative.
the end of my memo.
So, child
I'm
care
back.
came out
I'm back.
number 1
Yeah.
of concern, and there it is. It's
Yes.
number 1. So,
Got it.
Okay, those are the agenda items that you're looking for feedback on us from.
Correct. Should we just transition there? It sounds like we shall. Okay. Okay, as you know, in the strategic action plan, yes, for the prioritized items, childcare was the #1 focus by the community. It also, rose very high within the OKRs. So what I'm asking today is kind of some regulatory review for 3 items. Items related to childcare, housing, and parking. So when we talked as staff and reading through the OKR plan, do we have barriers within our ordinances and our policies that make these items difficult to move forward on? So what I'm asking for support today, not for you to approve any kind of amendment, but just support for staff to review our childcare ordinance, and then related to housing, review our ADU ordinance, and review our parking ordinance.
I'm seeing head nods. Well,
Check,
oh,
check,
other-
check.
Did you want to make a comment? Go ahead. Anju.
Yes, yes. Okay. Go ahead and review this zoning amendment, although, please find out if having having the separation of childcare in our zoning is actually affecting the problem of not having enough childcare.
Right.
Because I don't think that's really the
Right,
problem.
perhaps it isn't the issue.
But I
You're
did
right.
like in the spreadsheet, it said convening relevant agencies to discuss needs and assess pilot opportunities. I thought that was a good idea, except I would like employers to be part of that too, because, employers are part of this problem as well. They may be able to assist in monetarily or with a facility, or so let's get them in the room as well.
Great.
Mitch and then Jackie.
Yeah, and going off that, I want us to not just have an inward focus of identifying these issues and seeing what the city can do directly, but for issues, all 3 of these things, looking beyond our own regulations and seeing is there something at the county level that a closer partnership with the folks that occupy the same building could benefit. If
Right.
there's a particular limitation in state law that impacts our community more than others, then that is something that we can express to our legislators. If there are more opportunities to partner with organizations, with businesses, with community entities, then that partnership is an action. It's not just something that we are doing ourselves. It is encouraging the change that we want to see in the community and actively promoting that.
Jackie?
I would very much like to see a specific mention of further exploration of the TRI-Share program, where childcare costs are shared by the family, the employer, and the government entity.
Yes.
Laura?
Second that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the assignment. So under the policy direction and future considerations, you have childcare regulatory review. You're just asking us for approval to move forward with the internal regulatory review. This isn't a more broad discussion of the childcare issues in the community.
Right, we're just wanting nods
This is
from you
just
on
the-
what to spend time on
this is
internally.
just the
So we're not
internal
spinning
review.
our wheels,
Right.
working
Yeah,
on
okay.
things that you're like, we're not
Yep.
interested.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that's what the assignment is, because I think there's plenty we could discuss with respect to employer involvement and state regulations and the opportunities for regional collaboration, but really the assignment in front of us is the internal regulatory review of city ordinances and whether or not those are serving as barriers to increased childcare opportunities in the community.
That is right, yes. And in our OKR work plan is TRI-Share and some of these other items
Yep.
that have been mentioned. But these are the items that maybe we as a city internally could break down some
And the
barriers.
same for housing. So it's
Yep.
not your intent this evening to kind of rehash the importance of childcare or housing. It's or governance and coordination. It's looking at these internal reviews.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Lance and then Ken.
I've read through all of these requests, and I would support the team looking at everything you've written here. I don't see why you wouldn't. I think it matches with the work plan very nicely. I'm a big advocate and supporter of you looking at the accessory dwelling unit ordinance as well, so that we can potentially have some more of those, which I think would also support several other items.
Ken?
I was going to mention the ADUs, like Lance did. I've long supported them. I feel like there has been some pretty broad support for them. So I'm ready to see something with that come back in front of us. Are you looking for like specific things? I'm not sure if someone runs a licensed daycare out of their house, do they lose part of their primary residence exemption? Do they have to pay non-homestead taxes on a portion of it because they're running a business out of their house?
Those are the types of data
Like,
points we'll
that's-
present to
That's
you
what I'm looking at.
when
I'm
the
like,
time comes.
maybe we waive that
Yeah.
if we
Yeah.
can.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if-
That's where they're gonna do the deep dive in for us, huh?
Yeah.
Jackie?
Can I ask about staff capacity here?
Mm-hmm.
This is still a very long list.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what you had in mind in terms of timing to come back on these. Are you expecting in our next quarterly report that you would be taking, further steps or making recommendations on these, or?
I believe that these particular items related to childcare and housing were in the midterm items for the OKRs. That's why I'm coming to you today, because it will take time. And so, a review, then we might have to dedicate a study session to it. So we probably would be looking into 2027.
I agree with Lance. I think all of these are consistent with the OKRs, and really what I hear Colleen asking for is City Commission approval to begin the process, and then reporting back as those OKRs fit within the spreadsheet.
Trying to properly populate the queue and have a
Right.
cadence that's
Yeah.
sustainable.
Do you need a motion, or is this just discussion?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it's just discussion. And so with that said, we can move forward with the next one, which was governance coordination. There was many areas throughout the work plan about building relationships with our fellow commissions and boards and creating more joint sessions. What you've probably found in the past is that we're sending 18 people doodle polls. We want to change that. We want to, so what I'm recommending is 2 joint meetings with the DDA, 2 with Planning Commission, and 1 with Light and Power, which would be newish. And what we would do is we would create that meeting calendar at the beginning of the calendar year. So no more doodle polls. It's just scheduled. And you as City Commission, you're not going to have an extra meeting. We're going to schedule that on like your study session, either Monday or Tuesday, for example, with Planning Commission. Now, DDA only meets once a month. They may have to have an extra meeting. But we want to be really respectful of you and Planning Commission, who meets more often. And then that meeting with Light and Power, we would try to schedule on like one of your study session days as well.
Jackie?
Was there consideration to including parks in the annual joint meeting cadence?
It certainly could be.
I would ask my colleagues if there is interest, but it certainly seems to me that in terms of city assets and resources, that it's a key factor and something that's valued by our community and connects with a number of our pillars. And it's a question.
I'd certainly like to see it on for 2027. We might get to it and find, unless there's major projects, we don't need it, but we haven't done it, so I think that's a good idea.
Great. We will add that. And with the adoption of the new 5-year master plan, I think it'll be great to you can talk about progress and alignment there.
And I will be making reports monthly.
Good.
So, thank you.
We're looking forward to that, too. Laura, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'd support that as well, as it relates to all the placemaking activities in our parks.
Great. Okay, moving on, strategic planning and infrastructure priorities. Within our near-term items, we have a few things. We have some corridor prioritizations discussions. There's some zoning discussions, as well as talking about in the midterm, then potential land use and where we can see zoning overlay districts. I recommend that should be a joint discussion with the planning commission. And so my goal would be that that kind of shifts a little and that we look at that to be at the beginning of 2027 and schedule your first kind of 2027 planning commission meeting to discuss those items. First, have our joint session to talk about alignment. That'll be facilitated with Future IQ, and then have a secondary one to talk about maybe where we need to refine some alignment. Does that sound good? Yep. Okay, so that would shift a little. All right, I saved the best for last. Short-term rental ordinance review. There has been a lot of discussion about short-term rentals, and I will preface this discussion with this. Going through the strategic action plan process during, public engagement, there was a level of boldness that the public wanted to see. Short-term rentals has been brought up a lot by you as a body, as well as it's a hot topic in the community. So about a year ago, I kind of gave as much background as I could here, but about a year ago, the Planning Commission did research and make some recommendations regarding some adjustments to C3, C4A, B, C, D1, and D3. At that time, this body, some of you were not on this commission, there was some policy discussion that was had. And so there was a discussion about, do we bring those recommendations to this body, or do we do the policy discussion kind of parallel with that? Admittedly, that policy discussion has been delayed, some of that legal review, and then I know we've had some transition. So the city manager has been meeting with legislators. Would you like to talk a little bit about that? I know that I spoke with the city manager about meeting regionally, kind of with cities that are the same size, and maybe we could mimic something that way with like what Grand Rapids has done.
Yes, yeah, I am intending to work, and the mayor and I have talked about this, Commissioner Anderson and Mayor Pro Tem Ness to a degree, about a strategy to bring all the destination communities in Michigan together to advocate collectively for change in legislation to help offset the burden that our local taxpayers endure as a result of the substantial amount of tourism we have, and to share in that expense with the folks who are staying here as guests. And so I think that that's a strategy that likely could result, hopefully, in some collective heft of municipalities joining together. And so that's something that is currently in the works. It will take some time, but it's important and something I'm honestly excited to really dig into.
Yeah, thank you. So the question here today is, I am seeking direction from all of you because it has been a year. If you want to move forward with a recommendation, I'm not asking for approval of the recommendation from the Planning Commission. I'm asking if you would like to have a discussion about it and consider adopting it while work is still done by staff on this subject.
Adopting a meeting, annual joint session with the Planning Commission?
Nope, about short-term rentals, there was a recommendation from the Planning Commission to adjust specific zones, mostly in the downtown area, C3, C4, A, B, and C, D1, and D3, about a year ago.
To establish a cap, some
To
restrictions.
establish a cap.
Some
On the
restrictions
number
where
of
there were
short-term
previously.
rentals allowed.
Yes.
And so there was work to be, then it was decided by this board to have some additional work done at the same time. That work has been delayed, but we've now sat on this recommendation for a year, and it's been a topic of discussion, and it's also in your OKR plan. So I'm just asking for direction of, should we move forward with bringing this discussion item, and you can consider the recommendation, or we schedule a study session or put it on the agenda, in parallel, work on some of these policy items that are taking time, or do you want to further delay this?
Do we want staff to work on this right now, is the question. What that result will be like when we present it?
I'm
will be-
comfortable having a
okay.
meeting and talking about this, whether we want to move it forward or not.
Well, we can, what we're telling them now is, staff, please go look at this so they can bring back information right now. Because if we have a meeting to talk about talking about it, then we're going to ask them to go talk about it and then bring it back to us to talk about it again.
I hate
So-
talking about
I
things.
know,
let's-
so I think what we're
Vote
seeing,
now.
so what I'm seeing and I do see your hand up, Jackie, but do we have some head nods for the general understanding consensus? Okay, and Jackie, go ahead with the details, please.
My suggestion and what I would support is moving forward both tracks You know, as a year ago, when I think I made a presentation on the potential to pursue police power or regulation of short-term rentals, that's one track. The land use oriented and the zoning and caps oriented is an entirely separate track. And I don't see any reason that we couldn't pursue both of those at the same time and then come to a meeting point so that those are supportive of each other and headed in a policy direction that we all support.
Is that a lift
When,
stick?
when you bring that up, I just want to clarify the police power piece. Are you talking about the city's enforcement approach?
No, it's not just enforcement. It could be, you know, other communities have chosen to regulate the length of time that a short-term rental can be occupied and setting a minimum, for instance. Or they could have regulations on the number of short-term rentals that can be owned by a particular owner. So there are a number of ways to regulate through police powers how short-term rentals operate in our community, along with the zoning and land use issues of how many and where and those pieces. So they really should be complementary, and if we went on a dual track, we might get to that point.
Okay.
I think we can ensure that that's part of the conversation when it comes back to you. As far as having recommendations on that piece or ideas for the city commission to consider, that's something I would want to know if a majority of the commission supports that before we go down that track, which I think is what you're asking, to see if there's that support.
Do we mean enforcement when we say policing? Or just,
No, this is code enforcement. This is not
it's code
code
enforcement?
enforcement. And,
That's what the word I'm looking for.
and I think that the, you know, the possibility for it, at least as I had proposed previously, formation of an ad hoc of the city commission to talk those through and see what the possibilities were and what might be acceptable and meaningful, and bring it back to the full commission. I would love to see some action on that.
I just wanted to say that I think the examination of the commercial and the D that's been proposed is one track. One of our agenda items tonight is hiring new legal services. What we're talking about are legal approaches of what is illegal in the state of Michigan, how it would be applied here. I think that while we can start the path together, it might be a lag time behind on that aspect. An ad hoc getting together of commissioners, none of whom are attorneys, are going to rely on staff and lawyers anyways. And so I think I would say that I'd be in favor of moving on both paths, but with the understanding that one might start moving faster than the other initially at least, and we won't convene an ad hoc, next meeting because we won't even have hired our attorneys by then. So I would cautiously, I am in favor of that, but I wanted to raise that point that us just spinning wheels as three citizens without legal expertise or advice isn't as productive until we can get that in place. Go ahead, Ken.
I am comfortable looking at something and saying, if this is zoned C1, 2, or D2, proposing that we cap the amount of short-term rentals at 35%. I'm comfortable doing something like that. But looking at something like saying XYZ Corporation can only own so many short-term rentals in Traverse City, I will never support that. That is not something that I think we should entertain. I think that would be, I don't know if it would be bold or borderline dangerous for us to do such a thing. So, but as far as the percentages, I think that's something we can comfortably talk about.
Okay, thanks, Mitch.
Yeah, I do think it's something that will require more discussion to find out what the appetite from each of the 7 of us, and then collectively what it is. Coming from the other side, I do see a possible route to regulating number, but frankly, regulating upwards, because if you have a hotel that might be owned by a whole hotel, could be owned by a single person. They could choose to put every single room in that hotel on Airbnb and another platform just because they find that works better for their marketing and outreach. But is then that a whole lot of units in one person?
Really quick before we slice too much into this, that's kind of where we'd be asking them to come back with, staff to come back with a recommendation on caps or information. From there, we can hash it out more, we can do more discussion as a collective, so I don't want to get us too in the weeds tonight, but
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
we will need to be having much more discussion.
Lance?
Without getting in the weeds at all, yes, I support this.
Thank you, Lance.
Let's,
So we've got some different opinions here tonight.
Let's
so that's
get our
good.
new legal representation in place first.
Can I just paraphrase what I think I've seen as the consensus, which is to look at some sort of cap, but not necessarily to pursue the police power discussion at this point in time internally. Is that?
I thought I heard that after our legal advisory situation is resolved, that perhaps through an ad hoc process, we could try to find a consensus or some meeting of the minds to bring back to the full commission.
I will say that for my comment, I said that I would be willing, once we got legal, I'm not in favor of an ad hoc doing it, because we're going to be working with a firm. I want to know how much it's going to cost. I want to know the time that the firm would want to invest in it, and then I would want us to make our decision on that. But I think having legal in place would at least have us be able to start the conversation. Right now, we'd be going by guess and by God. So
my ask today, just to maybe make this a little clear, is that there is a recommendation from the Planning Commission. I'm not asking you to approve that recommendation, but do you support bringing that recommendation to you, knowing that we have this transition with an attorney, that we can still work on these policy reviews that were discussed at the April 2025 meeting, and we could still add it to an agenda item as well to kind of refine what those items are.
that is for sure. That got a lot of head nods. But go ahead, Jackie, if you have anything else.
My recollection of the April 2025 was that it came to us as a city commission, and there was some questions about where those percentages came from and what the rationale was for them, and it was returned to the planning commission. Is that anyone else's understanding? I mean, can we check the
Yeah, I've got it pulled up right here. This is when you asked for an ad hoc, right? Last year?
yes,
There was a study
No, I think it was
session with a
separate.
presentation
there
from
was a
Commissioner
study session,
Anderson.
but then there was also a point where the planning commission new percentage recommendations came to the city commission, and they were returned for additional explanation and background.
Lance has his hand up.
Yeah, I don't know, Commissioner, if this is actually up for scrutiny tonight, or we should scrutinize it, because it's not on there. It's just the ask is, do we want to scrutinize it in the future, which it sounds like you're probably in favor of, or bring it back for us to do.
My question is merely, wasn't it already returned?
Yeah.
A year
Well,
ago
I
to
guess
the
then this would be,
Planning
do
Commission.
they want us to bring it back? Or did they want,
Yeah,
Do-
the question is,
yeah.
do we want it brought back?
do we want it brought back? Because I don't know anything about it. I haven't studied it, so I don't even want to hear numbers, data, anything until it's brought like on an official item.
Fair. We have a new commission. Okay. I mean, so it sounds like the head nods we had earlier, have they changed, that we would like the initial part brought back to be presented to us with discussions of caps, et cetera? Does anybody object? I'm seeing a lot of head nods, but I don't want to mute anybody. Okay, thank you, Ken. That was a very distinct head nod.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
that's what we'll give you that.
One
for
one
your
other
question,
thing that
Colleen.
we had talked about was the attainable housing districts.
Yes.
I would love to see that brought back.
Yep, Lance and I actually were just talking about having that request put on, so perfect.
We needed to apply for that in a time frame window. Where are we with that? Did they extend it at the state?
They have not yet, right? Lauren? They have not.
Have not extended it yet?
No, they have not.
When does it close?
August.
Let's probably bring it back if we're going to move
Yep.
on that. there's a lot of potential in that for a lot of people to invest money, create affordable housing, get a tax discount.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So thank you for the reminder. Very good point. All right, Colleen, anything else?
I don't think so. I know that these are difficult discussions. Expect more as we
Yes.
work, really, like, we're not going to succeed in this plan if we don't have these difficult conversations. So I appreciate you all and thank you.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have the Code of Ordinances reclassifying auto-centric uses. And Benjamin, I'll let you kick that off, please.
Yes, this ordinance was introduced at your May 18th meeting, and it would require that auto-centric uses obtain a special land use permit, which is a more rigorous process and is currently in place for auto-centric uses, and those include things like oil change, car or vehicle repair shops, car washes, and things of that nature. So this is now up for enactment if you so desire.
Okay, do we have any questions about this to start? Or do we have a motion?
I can make the motion.
Okay, great.
That amendments to the Traverse City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1342, C2 Neighborhood Center District, Chapter 1344, C3 Community Center District, Chapter 1347 Development Districts, Chapter 1364 Special Land Use Regulations, Section 1366.03 Site Plan Requirements, which would require auto-centric uses to obtain a special land use permit as recommended by the City Planning Commission, be enacted with an effective date 8 days after publication.
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Ness and Commissioner Treadwell. Any further discussion on this item?
I appreciate all the planning commission's work on this. I appreciate all the city planning department staff's work on this. And I appreciate them bringing this to us so that we can support this.
Thank you, Jack, or Heather. Sorry. Looking
when-
at Jackie, but you raised your hand.
When you start working on your zoning ordinance rewrite, I hope you will look at the uses of boat liveries and marinas in this area. There's only one tiny little piece of our, what is this, R2? No, this is
C3.
C3. No, it's not.
C2.
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 C2,
Yeah.
that actually is on water, and that's on the Boardman, and maybe you want to make that a SLUP as well, or you just get rid of it, so.
I see the acting planning director nodding her head.
Okay, good. Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on now to ordinance amendment for the open space district. Oops, I just opened up before looking. That's you, Benjamin. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So this this ordinance was also introduced at your May 18th meeting. And this ordinance, if enacted by the City Commission, would add municipal markets as an allowable use within the open space district. And so it's up for enactment if you so desire.
Does anybody have any questions about this or a motion? Lance?
I move that the amendments to the Traverse City Code of Ordinance, Section 1328.01, uses allowed, which would add municipal markets to OS, Open Space District, as recommended by the City Planning Commission, be enacted with an effective date 8 days after publication.
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item? Go ahead, Heather.
Again, when this comes back, all of our parks are in this OS district, every single one of them, except for the cemetery. And golf courses are an allowed use. I would really like to see that go away. Or at least have a discussion about why we'd want a golf course in our city parks.
Is that, we're allowed to do that if we want to?
Well, I think that's something that if the City Commission is interested in doing, you could always have an item on an upcoming agenda and ask the Planning Commission to look at making that recommendation to you.
Isn't it very similar to what I was asking on the last item? Just as you're doing the zoning rewrite.
It is, but if the commission as a whole wants to give that direction, that's what I'm saying.
As a whole, interested in removing golf courses as
Is
a
it
use in our
what we
parks?
would consider traditional golf, or like
Putt-putt.
The world changes all the time, and I'm just, as I'm sitting here thinking, are we talking about disc golf potentially? I could see a large
That would-
group of
that would be
people
my
having, riding their one wheels from each park to disc golf, one hole in every single park, and they have 18 parks that they go to. And I just, I'm just kind of thinking open-mindedly about it, like how I use a park is different than how someone else uses a park. So I don't mind that flexibility in golf.
And
So-
even if we are talking about traditional golf courses, we have exactly one that is mostly in the city. It's partially in Garfield Township, but it is in R1B, and that is, from its initial set up as a single-family housing residential district, and yet that is where our golf course is. We do allow golf courses in most of our zoning districts, but that doesn't mean that they end up getting built there.
Well, discussion for another time then. All right, any other comments or questions about this item? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Funk?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Ness?
Yes.
Commissioner Treadwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Bomer?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. All right, that ordinance passes. And now we're on to our membrane replacement. And should I just hand that over to Art, or do you want to kick it off, Ben?
I'll just say something real briefly. You've got, of course, in your packet, a communication from Art Krieger, who's our Director of Municipal Utilities, recommending a one-year agreement for professional services with Jacobs in connection with the membrane replacement project, with additional years to be explored at a future date, of course. Jacobs operates, maintains, and manages our wastewater treatment plant, and I have long time greatly appreciated their work and service. We have a multi-year agreement with Jacobs for management, operation, and maintenance of the plant. And that agreement contains a provision that provides for out-of-scope agreements for things like this. And I'll assure you that the cost breakdown of this out-of-scope agreement at my request was reviewed closely by our city treasurer, finance director. And I recommend that this be approved. The cost is justified. I have asked Mr. Krieger in the future to bid out these types of arrangements. Quite possibly, we will end up with Jacobs anyway, but we want to at least test the market and make sure that the price makes sense for us. So with that, Mr. Krieger, if you've got anything you'd like to add, please do.
Sure. The presentation is in your packet, but Benjamin, would you like me not to go through it page by page?
I think it's
hit
just if
highlights?
the commission wants a presentation, I appreciate the work you've put into it, but it is in your packet. If you'd like him to walk you through it, he certainly can. Any preference from the commission?
Do we have questions based on the presentation, or want the whole thing? Okay.
My understanding is we have been voting on the project, the membranes, which is the equipment. We are now voting on spending the money for the actual physical work that's going to take place.
Well,
And that was my understanding. And this is the leak blowers, the tank repairs, the membrane replacements. Yep, everything that was in the packet, just like.
In those leaf blowers, through the energy efficiency, I
Yeah.
think, Mr. Krieger, doing this could save the city about
$70,000,
$79,000
yeah.
annually
Nice.
in electricity costs.
Yeah, so real brief overview. I won't go through the whole thing, but the first year is heavily weighted with changing out the LEAP MBR system to gain that capture, if you will, of energy savings over the next 8 years and beyond. And there are other key important items that need to be changed with the first year so that it just kind of sets up the years 2 through 8 going forward. A much smaller scope of work will be completed, including, year 2 through 8, just membranes and tank related work. So
That's how I saw it.
yeah, there's a heavily weighted year 1 cost, but it does start reaping benefits right away.
Do all of our, I know it's part of the 2017 wastewater agreement, the shared cost agreement with all our regional partners.
Correct.
I know it was referenced in the document that, they have to share up to 50%, but are they aware that this first year is going to be a large sum versus the next following 7 years with the other membrane train replacements?
Yes, I've been talking with Noah Carberg from the Board of Public Works. He's aware of the 8-year approximate cost of $10 million plus or minus, and that includes purchasing the membranes, which is already approved at a previous commission meeting. And I will be bringing this information to the BPW at the next meeting and having the opportunity to share more information with them about this project.
Fantastic.
Lance?
I just want to say thank you for pointing out that in the future we will be bidding this. I do believe it's important that we, even if we love the company, we know they do great work. It's just important for us from a fiscal hawk standpoint to bid this out, make sure it's fair. There are other companies out there, maybe one, in the country that do this type of work. But with that, I move that the competitive bidding process be waived and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute an out-of-scope agreement with Jacobs for the year 1 professional services for membrane replacement in an amount not to exceed $1,190,460.81, with such contract subject to the approval as to its substance by the city manager and its form by the city attorney, with funds available in the sewer fund, Fund 590, subject to the approval by the Grand Traverse County Board of Public Works.
Support. Thank you for that, Commissioner Shaw. All right, any further discussion on this? Mitch?
Yes, a question for, I believe, Ben. I do agree that going through a bid process is more transparent with how the city is ultimately spending our money and provides more accountability to the taxpayers and the residents of Traverse City. But I do also recognize that it does result in additional staff time and administration just to go through the bid process. So do we have an idea of the balance of those, and then what things that currently we recognize there is one company with expertise and we go directly to them versus?
I don't have a absolute analysis, but I will say that it is my professional opinion that is a best practice for the city, and I think we endure that staff expense to do that due diligence.
That's fair.
Good answer. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I will bring it back for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very
Art.
much.
That
Thank you.
large project we keep rolling through here. Next, I will hand it off to you, Benjamin, for the Carnegie update.
Yes, you have, of course, the City Commission, let me back up, approved a lease extension with Crooked Tree. Their lease had expired. This is, of course, for the city-owned Carnegie Building on 6th Street. It was set to expire October 31st of this year. The City Commission approved an extension, a 1-year extension of that lease to take it through October of 2027. I had recommended to the City Commission that you authorize me to work with Crooked Tree and the Traverse Area District Library, the two entities that submitted to occupy that space, to see if there is a path forward for joint occupancy, sort of a win-win, if you will, within our community. And we have held 2 facilitated sessions. I've been at both of those. And at the end of the day, both parties, and you have this in your packet, have jointly signed a letter asking that they have until September to continue these talks. I think that that's worthwhile. I recommend that you approve that. Do I think there's I already said this in the media, do I think that there's 100% chance that we'll come up with something? No, but I do think there's a possibility, and it's still worth exploring that. And again, both parties have requested that they have that time, and I hope for your support.
Heather, Lance?
Are you going to continue to facilitate or mediate or attend?
I
these
will
meetings?
continue
Yes,
to
okay.
attend, and Mr. Bellingham will continue to
Okay,
facilitate
good.
when we
All right.
appreciate his services. Yeah.
And then do we formally need a motion for this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I wasn't
sir.
sure. In that case, I move that the city manager be directed to return to the city commission no later than its Tuesday, September 8, 2026 regular meeting with a recommendation on future use of the city-owned Carnegie Building based upon discussions with representatives of Crooked Tree Art Center and the Traverse Area District Library.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners Bomer and Shaw. All right, any further discussion of this?
As long as all parties are willing to continue to participate collectively and cooperatively, I support going forward. I just had a couple questions. How much have we spent so far with on these mediated discussions with this mediator?
He didn't really want it being publicized, but he has provided the services pro bono.
And is he expect to continue to do that for the next 3 months? Phenomenal person. Thank him for his cooperation.
Yes,
He's a
Very good.
community asset.
He,
Yes.
amazing.
very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, and now lastly, we have our discussion of our request for legal services here. Lauren, your name's on this. Did you want to kick it off, or do you want us to just take it?
Either way, I just wanted to say we're sort of on our timeline that had been discussed before. We got 5 proposals. The rubric was populated just by pulling the information from the proposals with no editorial. They're listed in no order. So what, in order to kind of keep with the timeline, which is all up to the commission, what you want to do, the hope was to have some discussion about who you might want to ask to come for an interview, and then staff could start working on setting up those interview meetings.
And just to let everyone know that we'll be focusing our discussion tonight on which firms or attorneys we want to interview. Next week at the study session, we're going to carve out a little bit of time. What we will do is have HR kind of put a recommended process together. It'll probably look a lot like what we've done with city manager interviews, where we'll pick a date. If it's a couple, we can probably do it in one day and deliberate and look at what that might be mapped out like. It'll depend on how this conversation goes. But I just wanted to let everybody know that while we won't be tackling that tonight, the ins and outs of what the interviews will look like, it will be next week on the agenda. So today our job is just to discuss the different bids we've had here, or proposals we've had here, and see where we land. So if anybody wants to kick off the conversation, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah. So I think we're fortunate to have received 5 proposals, and I'm grateful to each of those firms for their interest and to our current city attorney for compiling the rubric. Tonight, our job is to identify which of these firms we should invite back or invite for interviews. And in my mind, the most important criteria that we have are their qualifications, their expertise, their credentials, and their experience. In other words, which firms are best equipped to represent our city, a complex and growing city facing increasingly sophisticated legal challenges and issues. Municipal law is its own practice area, and I think we should place a significant focus and weight on those firms that have demonstrated experience serving cities, city commissions, and city managers. The 2 firms that impressed me the most in looking at the RFPs and the resumes that were submitted with the depth and breadth of experience in municipal law were the Kelly firm and Foster Swift. Each of these firms has a dedicated team of municipal attorneys who I believe would serve our city very well, and I hope we can closely consider those 2 as we deliberate tonight.
Thoughts from others? It's all open floor for me. Go ahead, Jackie.
I also supported the Kelly firm for the depth and breadth of their experience in municipal law. Sechrist Wardle was on my short list also because of their experience with the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners, and I believe they have been, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they have been providing municipal services to that organization. Did I get that wrong? I can't read your face from here.
Are you looking at me?
Nate Alger is listed as a reference, but I don't know that specifically identified Grand Traverse County as their.
Have they done, do we know if they've done municipal work for
I don't
Grand Traverse
know
County?
whether they have. They do a lot of insurance defense, so I don't know what specific projects they may have worked on for the county.
Well, with Mr. Alger as a reference, perhaps we could at least pursue more understanding of what that relationship has been.
Thank you, yeah. Other thoughts from everybody? I just, over to Kian, go ahead, Heather.
I also, Kelly was at the top of my list because of their, that's what they do, is municipal law. They are representing a whole number of municipalities in Michigan. None of them are really huge, which is good. Auburn Hills maybe is one of the bigger ones, but small firm, I kind of like that. Get some, we get to know everybody rather than these giant, 96 member firms. I also think that that the what is it, Foster Swift? I think they deserve to come back and be interviewed. They have a really great reputation in the state. My only concern is that they're, according to my research, they are very risk. They avoid risk at as much as possible.
Which one was this?
Foster Swift, and they really like producing defensible opinions. I would really like to be a little bolder. I would like to not always be avoiding risk at all. So I mean, I don't want to completely avoid risk, but I would like. The problem is that we're small. We're just 7 of us here, and it's really hard to make good decisions as elected officials if we can't actually dig in and navigate political disputes. And if you're always avoiding risk at all costs, then it's really hard to dig in.
Well, hold on, I want to hear from everybody first, and then we can get into more discussions. Lance?
Yeah, I liked Seacrest Wardle and the Kelly firm. Both will have a human here, not on a screen. I think drives me crazy when we're in person and there's a Zoom at the same time. I like the idea of being able to look at the person and actually have a conversation with them back and forth. I also like their fees from a standpoint of, if you look at a 40-hour work week, potentially $300 an hour is like $600,000 a year, right? So the math is a lot nicer with those two firms from the fee standpoint as well. And I like that they have municipal experience, and Kelly being just specifically municipal. I really like that. I do. They're the smallest, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. And yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
I wanted to move forward and see something from the Kelly firm. Absolutely from the Kelly firm. I kind of hung up on 3. I really like Foster Swift, and I really liked Seacrest Wardle. Wardle's cost, local representation, Foster Swift's. I didn't love their price, but their experience with tax tribunal and labor experience, and some other local municipalities I thought was pretty nice. One of the partners that was listed, I don't know if he was a partner or not, but one of the attorneys listed with labor has actually been used by the city before. Cluck was used by the city for labor attorney a few years ago. So they do have experience working with us before. And I don't know if we want to narrow this down to 3 or 2. That's kind of the thing.
I think we can keep it open right now while everybody's giving what they thought of everybody, and then we can have more discussion too.
I would absolutely want to see the Kelly firm.
Okay.
Foster Swift and Seacrest Wardle. I could go either way with either one of those.
Okay, great. Mitch?
Yeah, echoing what a lot of people have said, Kelly seems to be somebody that is uniquely well suited. It is a person rather than a person from a large team that will undoubtedly rely on the team to cover some areas. But I don't want to just go with one company. I think that Seacrest Wardle and Foster Swift both have advantages, and I would be interested in hearing more from them to get a sense for, okay, we can get it to 3, can we get it to 1?
Great. I'll just say that, just because I'm up here too. The Kelly and Foster, Kelly really stood out to me as well. It's the, Kelly firm is the one that's strictly municipal, that has that kind of across the board. I liked that they had same-day responsiveness in their emails and being accessible and at the meetings. Foster Swift has a deeper bench, or has a deep bench, I shouldn't say deeper. And so those were my top choices, with the different, like was already pointed out, the labor and tax laws or attorneys that they have on their bench. Seacrest Wordle's getting a lot of traction too, so I don't see why we wouldn't interview them as well. So we've had the same 3 firms mentioned between everybody in one way, shape, or form. So it sounds to me, to answer your question, Ken, that sounds like
Probably
we're moving in on 3 to interview. So, go ahead, Jackie.
Was text tribunal service included as part of the RFP?
Yes.
It was. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yes.
So do we have, so right now, those are the 3 that have been specifically mentioned. There weren't any other kind of 4th or 5th places that were mentioned. Is that kind of where we feel like we're landing with that? Or did people have more questions or comments that they wanted to make right now? Go ahead. Go ahead, Ken.
I know it's going to be harder to coordinate 3 than it is 2. But at the same time, I know that the timeline is very important here. And we wanted to meet certain benchmarks for the timeline with this to be able to have a transition period between Lauren and this new firm. So as staff is trying to schedule this, I hope that we could take it into consideration if some firm isn't willing to work with us on this time frame. They know it's important. I think they will. So I'd hope to be able to see something from all 3 of them.
Great. That's a very good point. Laura, you had your hand up.
No, I think it's just in terms of process. First, we should talk about which 2 or 3 that we're going to invite for the interviews, and then we can move on to the next steps of what that process will look like.
Well, and I would say that what we've kind of discussed is this will be a tandem where we'll pick these, it's fairly close. I think we could interview 3. There's the same amount. I was doing a little tally while we talked. Foster Swift and Seacrest both had 4 mentions each by people in positive, like would be willing to talk to them. So, and then Kelly had 6. So we're kind of on an even field here, it feels like, to talk to all of them. So we'll have Sarah and the staff reach out to us about getting what days are open for people. With 3, just kind of based on what we've done in the past with city manager, which is similar. It's us hiring one of our employees. It would probably look like taking out basically a day for us, where we'd be able to interview. We have to do it publicly. In the past, and this is where we'll see what HR recommends, we've done interviews and also had, because they work directly with department heads, had the department heads interview them in tandem, and then get their questions and answers and notes, our questions and answers and notes, time to deliberate, and then convene for deliberation. So it's usually a few hours on one day. We will bring a couple different proposals. I'm just speaking from experience of what we've done in the past with city manager interviews and things. So we'll have the staff start scheduling us for that, reach out to the firms, as Ken said, and get availability, and then keep that process moving. So we won't just stop tonight and not talk about anything until next week. We know who we're inviting. We know we need to pick out a few hours worth in a day. And then next week we can talk about what those questions will look like, what exactly the day will look like, and we can all have that discussion then. Go ahead, Laura.
I know it's important that we have consistent, use the mic, that we have consistent questions across all of the interviews. Should we consider submitting questions that individual commissioners might want to see asked to either Sarah or to HR tonight so that they can compile them and reduce them down, eliminate redundancies, and then bring them to us if we're discussing this next week?
We've typically done it, and we can do it that way. We've typically done it because they're going to be scheduling with reaching out to different schedulers and setting up lunch and setting up rooms and things like that. When we've discussed, we've had the questions submitted and had the questions then that were parsed out on a list given to us at the day of the interview based on everybody's questions. That helps them get it through legal. That helps them spend some time with it significantly with HR to make sure we don't flub. And frankly, no matter how many questions we come up with, we will probably run out of time to ask them all. So that's how we've done it. We can certainly start thinking about it. I think what I want to clarify before we say just start barraging people with questions is knowing specifically who to send them to. So
Right.
I don't know if
That's
it would
my
be
question,
Chris.
is
Well,
what
I'm
the
saying
process
we
is.
haven't had that conversation until next week, so I don't know would we say Christine? Would we say?
If there
Okay.
are HR things, it should go to Christine.
Okay, we will send them all to Christine then. If you think of some in the meantime,
Okay.
you can start pondering that. But we'll have that as part of the conversation next week as well.
So hold back on the questions right now. Is that what
If,
you're
yeah, I
saying?
mean, or you can start jotting them down and start thinking about it. There might be
Can-
some parts of our discussion that, as we get into availability and things like that, that spark new questions too, so.
I'm concerned about the very compressed time that we have, and I'm wondering if it would be helpful for us to submit those questions to Christine this week so she can bring back something on the 8th that then we can go through. So it's already been,
I
She can go
personally, for
through it.
interviews, I'm not a fan of projecting the questions before we go and having people answer on the spot. That's kind of what we've done in the past. If people want to do that, though, we can. That's what we've kind of had in the past, but we can change that here if we want.
I'd prefer not to have prepared.
Uh,
Well, I mean, prepared by staff, but not prepared where the public, they
Think of,
can see them.
think of 2 or 3 questions that you would specifically like to ask them. Send them individually to HR to help phrase them appropriately and kind of clean them up. But like, I don't want to submit these for, a public document so that anybody can
Right.
have
no,
access to
it's
them
just
and
a
they can pre-read
baseline.
the
It's
questions.
just a
for this.
baseline. I mean, obviously, the interviews will be organic, and we'll have platforms, but I was just trying to speed up the process.
We can
with
definitely
you.
submit them over the next,
Yeah.
starting
So
now, to
if
Christine.
4 of
but-
us
So you do want
ask the
to,
same
yeah.
question.
We can, yes, well, we can
Okay.
submit them to Christine.
Yeah.
Submit them.
Yes,
Okay.
but not for discussion, yes, so. Are there other questions right now?
As far as the format goes for this, are we there ready to talk about this? Presentation from these
That's what we'll talk
firms?
about next week when we
We'll
talk
talk
about
about
what
that
we
next
want
week.
from them, how the day will look. I think that has to depend on, do we want them each doing presentations to us and staff? Do we want them just to sit down and do questions? That's what we'll have to kind of talk through a little bit. And I think it'll be good to have, if we can, to have somebody from HR briefly with us to help us with that, navigate that as well.
Maybe
have
we
that
could
lined up for
review our
tonight.
timeline. What is our timeline? Because that's a very important thing in this, so that we can, because I'm okay with kind of what the direction Laura's going with this, is maybe we need to have a little bit more of the discussion tonight, fuller, so that we're getting ready because of this timeline. When are we,
Do we have anybody from HR here tonight?
No, but I think originally when we sort of talked about the whole timeline, we had talked about end of next week to try
Yeah.
and have interviews. I think there was an email sent out asking commissioners about availability on the 11th and 12th. And so,
I don't think any of us
No.
have that. So,
Okay.
I mean, we can throw, that's where we'll have staff help us coordinate with like a Calendly or something to see where our times might be, and that could include the 11th and 12th, but I think because we didn't confirm anything before, we might have to.
I
look into the next
I
week.
recall that email because I put a hold on my calendar, but
Yeah,
I was kind of like
don't have-
loadedly asking the question because I was
Yeah.
expecting next Thursday, Friday as well,
okay. Well,
So-
and
11th and 12th.
we can put those dates out there. It's a tandem, so we can put the dates out there, get those decided by Monday, as well as have questions, as well as talk
Right.
about the process, and then be ready to go whenever we're ready to go with our scheduled times.
So just to clarify, based on tonight's discussion, someone will be reaching out to these 3 firms, the 3 firms that we've discussed,
Yes.
to let them know that they're going to be moving on to the interview process, and from a logistics standpoint, start to look at their schedules too.
Yes,
Right.
Okay, got it.
absolutely.
and then someone will reach out to all of you about your schedules too. So
Mhm.
just with that timeline in mind, just keep an eye on your emails.
Mhm.
Okay.
Do we have more questions or clarifications right now? Okay. All right, do we feel, Sarah, it kind of is falling on you on a lot of this. Do you feel like you have clear instruction?
Clear enough.
Okay, great. Okay, then with that, we will now move on to any reports from anybody on their respective boards. Go ahead, Heather.
I'll report on the Michigan Township
Oh, yeah, thank
Association. This time of year, it's usually at Long Lake, and they have a big dinner. And it's the road commission presentation, which is the best one of the whole year. I'm going to invite Ben to go with me next year because it really is. It's always really entertaining. They're amazing. But you received a PDF it came in the tidbits from last week about a proposal to rebuild South Airport. So that was also presented at the meeting by the chair. It was his own design, and interesting idea. Great. That's all I have to say.
No, that's a great update. Others from, go ahead, Jackie.
Planning Commission tomorrow night at 6 in this chamber. We're going to be seeing a draft of the riparian buffer ordinance for
finally.
conversation after a period of years. So thank you to staff for moving it forward and to the folks who have been on that committee.
Thank you, Jackie. That's exciting news update. Thank you. Any others? Okay, well, seeing none, then I will open up for final reserved public comment. This can be about anything under the sun. It doesn't have to be topics from tonight. Could be just how your day was. So please come. You'll have 3 minutes if anybody would like to make public comment.
Ooh, I get to read the rules.
You do.
We ask that you state your name and address, indicate if you're a city resident, non-city resident, and/or city business owner. We have a 3-minute time allotment per speaker. When your time has elapsed, the timer will beep. And finally, we request that all language be respectful to all parties.
Good evening. Happy New Year. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Actually, I've been watching you from afar for the last 6 months. Lauren, I want to personally thank you for your leadership and all that you've done. I've really enjoyed interacting with you, and your expertise will be missed. So, but I really wish you the best out into the future. I've also been watching the City Council, and I've got to say, I'm from afar, I'm just very happy for the culture that I see and the way you conduct your business in the last few months. It's just been very refreshing to look at from afar. So I'm back in town. You'll hear me every once in a while again. I'm here today. When I'm wearing a hat, I'm speaking as Richard Robbins, resident of 720 Center Place here. When I'm not wearing a hat, I represent the Grand Traverse Safe Streets Alliance. But wearing the hat today, we see this new possible opportunity with Delmar coming forward. And I would like to put on record my personal belief. I haven't had the time to talk to the Alliance about their belief, but I think an awful lot of them will concur, and at the next meeting maybe I'll come to you with their position as well. But we have a very unique opportunity to use this as an opportunity to correct the wrong in front of Delmar relative to that bike lane, to start to really use this as a negotiated opportunity, a win-win opportunity for us to now complete that bike lane so we have safe travel as we're moving forward to connecting our east-west corridors. So I would like to encourage, I'm mentioning that to you, it'll be mentioned to the Advisory Committee for Safe Streets. And I think this is the type of innovative thinking we need. And with Bennett for leadership, Benjamin, I'm really looking forward to kind of having that type of discussions, win-win with our businesses to figure out ways that we can all do good things with these types of scenarios. So I just wanted to throw that out there as something that I personally, and hopefully the Alliance, as I just haven't had opportunity to get consensus yet, but that the citizens of this, I think that the citizens of this city would be very, very interested in. So anyway, look forward to seeing you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Richard. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it to commission. Any final commission thoughts? Mitch?
Happy Smart Commute Week. I encourage everybody to walk, bike, use public transit, carpool, etc. to get around town. Today I kayaked to both free breakfasts, and there continue to be free breakfasts around town for the rest of the week.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, you can go to Tart Trails website if you want to find out where you get a free breakfast.
They are
Excellent
tasty.
point. They are. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Go enjoy the rest of the evening. We might even be out before sunset with these nice longer days. So have a great night, everyone. On signatures, you can all come up to anybody up here and get signatures, any of us.
This is the Andy Smith's agreement.
Ready to go?
Oh, well, thank
Hi.
you very much. Actually, wasn't too bad.
Didn't do too bad, so.